The sky bled fire as a jet screamed through Montana's blizzard, a dying star gutting the frozen night. I, David Miller, stood in my cabin's shadow, heart a clenched fist. Watching it plow into the pines, flames clawing the dark like a beast set loose. I ran, snow stinging my face, the wreck's heat a lash across my skin. Dr. Evelyn Reed lay inside, bloodied. Breath a faint thread. I yanked her free, her weight dragging my arms, collapsing in the frost as the plane exploded, a roar that cracked the earth. Her pulse flickered under my fingers. Fragile against the inferno's howl. Was this chance or a hunter's trap? My ranger years taught me, the world's breaks aren't clean. I've seen shadows hide knives, accidents mask intent. That night, I chose the blaze over safety, my boots carving a path to her life. If you've ever risked your bones for a stranger, knowing it might break you, drop a comment. I'll face that fire. I want to know how many of you have stared into chaos, pulse hammering, wondering what you'd stirred. Share your story below. Let's count the souls who've run toward the unknown, not away, and live to question why they did it. I'm David Miller, a man whittled by loss, duty my only anchor. Once a forest ranger, now a ghost haunting a Montana shack. I live for Chloe, my daughter. Her bright gaze my shield against the void. Laura, my wife, withered under disease's slow teeth, leaving debts that choke tighter than grief. I'm stubborn as stone, act before I think. Trust only what my hands can grip. My knuckles bear scars from wrestling wolves, man or beast, their bites the same. City promises, all gloss and lies, curdle in my gut. Laura's death is a wound that won't knit. I failed her, and that truth gnaws my marrow. Chloe's meant for more than this life of scraping by. Her dreams of circuits and code too vast for our crumbling walls. But I'm trapped, pride warring with her future, each choice a blade twisting in the man I was. I'm no hero, just a father bleeding for his girl, caught between the dirt I know and the world she deserves. My hands, rough as bark, can't lift her high enough, and that failure bums hotter than any fire. I hate the debts that chain us, the memory of Laura's fading voice, the mirror that shows a man too weak to break free. I want Chloe to soar, but my feet are sunk in mud. And every step feels like betraying the life I built to honor my wife. I'm a blade dulled by time, cutting myself on promises I can't keep, a ranger who tracks his own ghost in the snow. Laura's watch sits on my shelf, its hands frozen at 3:17, the moment her breath stopped. I tum its crown, but it's dead, a relic of me broken, bound to a past I can't claw back. Chloe's laugh, so like Laura's, cuts deeper than any steel. The night I pulled Evelyn from the burning wreck, I was awake, staring at that watch, damning myself for letting Laura slip away. It's my scar. Proof of my failure, of debts that cage us, of a man who dives into flames for strangers but couldn't save his own. I see it every dawn, its silent face mocking my fight. My love that always falls short. That watch is my truth. I battle, I bleed, but for those I cherish, I'm too late. It rests there, heavy as sin. A marker of vows shattered by a world that chews and spits. Saving Evelyn didn't heal it. It was just another sprint into fire, another proof I'm built to fail the ones who matter most. I wind it sometimes, fingers trembling, hoping for a tick that never comes, just like I hope for a day Chloe won't see me as the man who couldn't save her mother. That night, with Evelyn's life in my hands, I was running from that watch, from the weight of my uselessness, but it follows me still, a shadow I can't outrun. Rescuing Evelyn wasn't the end, it was the spark that ignited a fight I couldn't escape. Evelyn woke in my cabin, her city-sharp eyes cutting through our patched walls and bare shelves. Chloe, my daughter, hovered near, our questions about tech spilling fast, her voice bright in a way I hadn't heard since Laura's laugh filled this place. Evelyn's gaze lingered on Chloe's threadbare coat. The cracked mugs, our life of want. She offered money, a job, a new start in Seattle, her world, not mine. I bristled, my pride a clenched jaw. I'm no beggar, I growled. But her words landed like stones. Chloe's future was bigger than this frostbitten shack. My girl, with her quick mind and robot sketches, deserved more than my stubbornness could give. But the thought of leaving Montana, of trading dirt for glass towers, felt like spitting on Laura's grave. Evelyn's gratitude was a mirror, showing me a man failing his daughter. Just as I failed his wife, Chloe's hope clashed with my roots, her dreams tugging against the life I'd carved from grief. I saw her watching me, eyes wide, waiting for a father who could lift her free. But I was sinking, a man adrift in his own stubborn sea, the weight of unpaid bills and broken vows pulling me under. Seattle loomed like a beast, its promise of change a threat to the only world I knew. I wanted to shield Chloe, keep her safe in this hard, familiar place, but her spark was fading here, dimmed by my refusal to bend. The conflict tore at me: stay and starve her dreams, or go and lose myself. I stood at the edge, my heart a bruise, knowing the choice would break something either way. Evelyn didn't back down, her voice steady as iron, promising Chloe a place in Omnitech's Young Innovators program, a path to a life I couldn't give. I snapped, told her to shove her charity. She stood firm, eyes unyielding, and laid bare my truth. Debts piling like snow, no prospects, a daughter too bright for this dead-end dirt. Her words weren't pity, they were a blade, slicing open my failure. I wasn't just failing Chloe, I was betraying her, chaining her to my pride while she withered in my shadow. It wasn't Evelyn's voice that stung, it was the truth, cold and sharp, showing me the father I'd become. I'd sworn to protect Chloe, to give her what Laura dreamed, but I was the cage, not the key. The betrayal was mine, not hers, and it burned deeper than any wound. If someone you loved held up a mirror to your shame, would you embrace them or curse their name? Drop a comment, tell me, are they cruel for speaking truth or kind for breaking your lies? Share your story, I need to know how you faced that sting. Intersperse, families meant to lift you, not bind you. Mine felt like iron. Would you break those chains or wear them proud? Tell me below, what's your fight? I told Evelyn no, my voice a growl, but Chloe's face haunted me, her eyes lit with hope, clutching an old robotics book, her fingers tracing circuits like Laura once did. I couldn't dim that light, so I agreed to visit Seattle, just to look. I swore, not a surrender. But each word felt like a step off a cliff. Betraying the life I'd built to honor Laura, the dirt and struggle that kept her memory close. I packed a bag, my hand shaking, telling myself it was for Chloe, not me. The cabin seemed to watch, its walls heavy with ghosts, as I locked the door. Seattle's pull was a current, and I was fighting it, my heart still tethered to Montana's snow. Evelyn's world was a gamble, a place where men like me drowned in suits and lies. But Chloe's smile, rare and fierce, was worth the risk, or so I told myself. My resistance cracked, not from Evelyn's push, but from the truth in Chloe's dreams, the ones I was too small to hold. I stepped forward, hesitant, hating how right Evelyn's offer felt, how it exposed my life as a cage. Seattle wasn't just a place, it was a war, and I was marching in blind. Seattle's glass spires pierced the sky, a world of drones and gleam that choked my Ranger blood. At Omnitech's gala, Evelyn unveiled Neuralink X, a machine to mend broken minds, the kind that might have saved Laura. Chloe, my daughter, glowed. Her acceptance into their Young Innovators program a spark I couldn't dim. But I felt naked, a wolf among silk suits, my instincts twitching. Then I saw him, Nathan Thorne, Evelyn's old partner. His smile a honed blade. She leaned close, voice low, and said he'd rigged the plane crash that nearly killed her. My gut nodded, the same dread I felt when Laura's diagnosis landed. A shadow too big to fight. Thorne's eyes slid to Chloe, lingering like a hunter's, and my blood turned to ice. She was no longer just my girl, she was a piece in his game. A leverage point to twist Evelyn's arm. I scanned the room, mapping exits, faces, hands and pockets. My ears tracking predators screamed. Danger. This wasn't Montana snow. But the stakes were higher: Chloe's safety, Evelyn's life, a technology that could change the world or break it. I stood rigid, heart a drum, the gala's chatter fading to a hum. Thorne moved through the crowd, smooth as oil, his presence a taunt. I'd faced bears, blizzards, men with knives, but this was different, a threat I couldn't outrun or outfight, not yet see you anew. My fear for Chloe's future, the life I'd promised Laura I'd give her. I was out of my depth, a man of dirt and bone in a world of circuits and lies, and that terror clawed deep. Thorne's men wove through the gala, their steps too deliberate, eyes too sharp. I shadowed them, my ranger training a pulse in my veins, heart hammering like a trapped thing. One brushed Chloe, his hand grazing her shoulder too long, and I nearly snapped his arm before he slipped away. Evelyn pulled me into a comber, showed me Neuralink's data, glitches, intentional, like footprints in wet earth. Thorne didn't just want her tech, he wanted her dead, her dream buried. I urged her to cancel the launch, to hide. She refused, her eyes fierce, saying the world needed this, needed hope. Her stubbornness echoed Laura's, and it shook me. Another woman I couldn't save, another fight I might lose. The gala swirled on, oblivious. While I tracked Thorne's men, their movements a map of intent. I was one man, no gun, no badge, just instinct and a father's vow. If I stayed quiet, we'd be safe. But for how long? Silence was a coward's choice, and I'd sworn to be more for Chloe. Why do the hunted always bite their tongues? Tell me stand and fight, or swallow the fear. Drop a comment. I need your truth. Intersperse. Speaking out risks everything: your safety, your peace. Would you rise or stay still? Share your fight below. Let's see who dares. I couldn't turn back. Chloe's dreams. Evelyn's mission, they were my fight now, carved into my bones. I swore to shield them, not just from Thorne's knives, but from my own doubts, the voice whispering I'd fail again, like I failed Laura. Fear was a living thing, coiling tight, but my resolve was harder, forged in the ashes of my wife's death. I'd stood in blizzards, faced down death, and I'd do it again for my daughter. For the woman I'd pulled from fire. Thorne's shadow loomed, but I was no prey. I was a ranger, a father, a man who'd learned to bleed and keep moving. My will was iron, my purpose clear. Keep them safe, no matter the cost. I looked at Chloe, her eyes bright with trust, and knew I'd bum the world before I let her light fade. Evelyn's fight was righteous. Her took a chance to heal what broke Laura, and I'd guard it with my life. The gala's noise returned, a tide I'd navigate. My fear a weight I'd carry but not bow to. I was done running, done failing. This was my stand, and I'd hold it, for them, for the man I still could be. Guarding them meant diving into Thorne's web, where every step could be my last. Seattle's neon pulse mocked my ranger heart, its streets a labyrinth of glass and lies. Evelyn granted me access to Omnitech's security logs, a digital forest I hunted through. My eyes burning under flickering screens. Each night, coffee turned to ash in my mouth as I traced Thorne's tracks, hacked servers, Neuralink's code twisted like vines. His sabotage was a ghost. Subtle but deliberate, a predator's mark. I saw patterns where text saw noise, timestamps off by seconds, data rerouted to shadow drives. My years tracking wolves taught me to read signs others missed, and thorns were everywhere, a noose tightening around Evelyn's dream. By dawn, my hands shook. Not from cold, but from truth's weight, a jagged shard cutting through my doubts. Thorne wasn't just a thief. He'd meant to kill her, to bury Neuralink X in that Montana blaze. I left the lab, boots heavy, and tailed his men through Seattle's underbelly, their faces hard as flint. My ranger skills felt alien here, but they were sharp, guiding me through crowds to a dive bar where whispers traded hands. I overheard a name: Thorne's fixer, a snake named Voss. I followed him to Omnitech's edge, heart a clenched fist, and caught him slipping into a restricted lab. I pinned him against concrete, my forearm a bar across his throat, demanding answers. He spat Thorne's name, confirmed the crash was no accident. A calculated strike to end Evelyn. His fear was real, his words a map to Thorne's plan. Control Neuralink, weaponize it. I let him crawl away, knowing he'd run to his master. The truth was mine now. But it was a blade sharp, double-edged, cutting me as deep as it would Thorne. Chloe's face haunted me, her safety a stake I couldn't lose. I stood in the rain, Seattle's glow a false dawn. My resolve hardening. This wasn't just Evelyn's war, it was ours, and I'd hunt until Thorne's empire was dust. Every step sank me deeper, a ranger lost in a city snare, but I'd find the path. For my daughter, for the woman I'd saved, for the man I still could be. Voss's confession was a spark, but not enough to burn Thorne's web. I showed Evelyn the logs, the proof of his sabotage, urging her to go public, to break his game before the Neuralink launch. She hesitated, her face a mask of steel and Omnitech's stock, her legacy hung on a thread. I saw Laura in her pause, the same stubborn hope that cost too much. Then Tommy struck back. A photo slid under my hotel door, Chloe at school, her face circled in red ink, a silent vow. My rage was a furnace, but I kept it cold, my ranger mind plotting. I set traps, dummy data leaks, false server pings to lure Thorne's men. One bit, a wiry thug tailing me through Seattle's docks. I ambushed him in an alley, his breath sour as I slammed him against brick. He admitted Thorne's plan, a hack at the launch to steal Neuralink's core, to twist it into a weapon. His eyes darted, fear a live wire. And he warned me back off, or Chloe pays. I let him stagger off, his words a brand on my soul. The city's hum felt like a pulse, each sound a threat. I checked on Chloe, her sleep calm, unaware of the shadows closing in. Evelyn's refusal to hide gnawed at me. Her fight was noble, but it painted a target on us all. I stood watch, my hands itching for a fight I couldn't yet win. This was no Montana wild here. Enemies hid in plain sight, their knives digital, their intent lethal. My fear for Chloe was a weight, but so was my duty to Evelyn. To the truth, I'd clawed from the dark. I'd face Tommy's men again, outmaneuver them, but each move drew the noose tighter. The launch loomed, a storm I'd meet head-on. My ranger's instinct my only map. I was one man, but I'd learned to hunt in worse than this, and I'd keep hunting until Thorn's shadow fell. I faced Evelyn in her office. The city's lights a cold halo behind her. No more waiting, I said. We fight Thorn now, at the launch, on his ground. I'd guard Neuralink, use my skills to break his plan, to keep Chloe safe. She nodded, her eyes fierce but trusting, a bond forged in fire. Chloe overheard, her face pale but proud, and I knelt, promising her no harm would come, a vow I'd die to keep. My stand was a line carved in stone. Thorn's empire or ours would fall. They called me a nobody, a ranger out of place, but this nobody would unravel their lies. Is truth worth your blood? Or should it stay buried? Drop a comment, tell me, what's your stand? Intersperse, they mocked me as weak, but I'd tear their world apart. Would you fight for what's right, or let it rot? Share your choice below. I read every one. My declaration wasn't just words, it was a fire lit in my bones, a ranger's oath to hunt until the prey was down. Thorn's whamming echoed. But I'd turn his threat to ash. I'd rig the launch's security, outsmart his hackers, face his men with nothing but my hands if I had to. Chloe's future, Evelyn's dream, they were my purpose, my fight. And I'd bleed before they fell. The city felt alive, its pulse a challenge I'd answer, my fear a shadow I'd outrun. This was no longer about saving Evelyn from a crash, it was about breaking a man who'd break the world. I stood ready, a father, a protector, a man who'd learned to stand where others fell. The launch was hours away, Thorn's trap set, but I'd spring my own. Launch day broke over Seattle, the city a coiled beast under dawn's gray veil. Omnitech's auditorium hummed. A hive of suits and screens, Neuralink X's promise heavy in the air. I moved through it, a ranger in alien skin, my hands steady but hard a taut bowstring. Thorn's men were here, I felt their weight. Their eyes like blades in the crowd. I'd rigged the security myself. Cameras looped, alarms primed, tripwires of my own making hidden in the system's veins. My ranger instincts, honed in Montana's wild, guided me now, mapping threats in a jungle of glass. As Evelyn took the stage, her voice sharp with purpose, I spotted a shadow boss, Thorn's fixer, slipping toward his server room. I followed, silent, my boots a whisper on polished floors. He plugged a device into the mainframe, a venomous spike meant to gut Neuralink's core. I struck, pinning him to the wall, my fist a promise against his throat. He gasped, the device clattering free, its lights dead. I jammed their comms with a signal disruptor I'd scavenged, cutting their web. Another of Tommy's men lunged from the dark. I dropped him with a chair, precise, the crack of wood on bone lost in the gala's din. Evelyn's speech continued, unbroken. Her eyes catching mine across the room. Trust, a rare coin. I dragged Voss to a closet, binding him with cable ties, his curses muffled. The crowd clapped, oblivious, as I rerouted the hack to a dummy server, delaying Tommy's strike. My first move landed, a blow against his plan, but the air stayed thick with menace. Chloe was out there, her safety a pulse in my chest, and Tommy was still free, his shadow long. I slipped back to the floor, scanning for the next threat, my blood a river of fire. This wasn't victory, it was a skirmish. A ranger's stand in a war I'd sworn to fight, for my daughter, for Evelyn's dream, for the man I was becoming under this city's unforgiving sky. The disrupted hackbot time. But Thorn countered fast, a serpent striking from shadow. Neuralink's demo flicker devices sparked, screens glitched, a chaos Thorn engineered to break Evelyn's name. I dove into the control booth, fingers flying over panels, rerouting power to stabilize the system. The sparks died, screens cleared, and the crowd's murmurs softened. But whispers of failure lingered, sharp as thorns. Evelyn's face tightened, her dream teetering on a knife's edge. My move had saved the demo, a small win carved from chaos, but the cost was clear. Tommy's virus had wounded Omnitech's trust. Investors shifted, their eyes cold, doubting Evelyn's vision. I felt the weight. My ranger's pride stung. ID acted, but not enough. Thorne's men were still out there, their plan a hydra, sprouting new heads. I checked on Chloe, her smile brave but thin, and my gut twisted. Had I escalated a war we couldn't win? Some in the crowd called me a savior, others a reckless fool, their voices a split chorus. Was I fighting for justice or chasing vengeance? Tell me, what's your fight? Drop a comment. Am I right? Or am I burning it all down? Intersperse. That one tasted hollow, a step forward with Toms at my heels. Am I carving a path to truth, or digging a grave for us all? Share your stand below. I need to know who's faced this edge. The obstacle loomed. Thorne's next move, hidden, lethal, aimed at Chloe, at Evelyn, at everything I'd sworn to shield. I stood in the booth. City lights a cruel mirror, my hands clenched. The victory was mine, but fragile, a crack in Thorne's armor that invited his wrath. I bought time, but time was a blade, cutting both ways. And I'd need more than instinct to keep my daughter safe, to keep Evelyn's hope alive. I stood in the auditorium's shadow, the gallows hum a distant storm. Chloe's safety, Evelyn's vision, they were my north, my unbreakable vow. I wouldn't falter, not now, not with Thorne's menace still breathing. My ranger's heart, scarred by Laura's loss, beat fierce. I'd failed my wife, but I'd not fail them. The glitch, the whispers, the doubt, they were wounds, but wounds I'd bear. Thorne was a predator, but I was no prey. I was a hunter, a father, a man forged in fire and frost. My commitment was a blade, honed sharp. I'd stop Tommy, protect Neuralink, guard my daughter with my last pulse. I met Evelyn's gaze, her trust a spark that lit my own. Chloe hugged me, her warmth a reminder of why I fought. The city's pulse was a challenge, but I'd meet it, my fear a ghost I'd outrun. This wasn't just about a launch, it was about breaking a man who'd break the world. I'd rig every system, outsmart every trap, face Tommy's men with bare hands if needed. My stand was iron. My purpose clear, a ranger's oath to see this through. The fight was mine for them, for the man I'd become. The true battle loomed, public and raw, and I'd face it unflinching. Seattle's dawn bled cold. The city a bared fong as Omnitech's relaunch gala pulsed with light and greed. The auditorium, a sea of suits and cameras, crackled with Neuralink X's promise to heal minds broken like Laura's once was. I, David Miller, moved through it, a ranger cloaked in shadow, my heart a taut wire. Thorne's men were here. Their menace ascent in the air, their plan to gut Evelyn's dream ripe. I'd fortified the systems, cameras rewired, servers shielded, my traps woven into the digital weave. But the crowd's hum, the flash of lenses, felt like a storm closing in. Evelyn took the stage, her voice a blade cutting through doubt, her vision bold against the skeptic's sneers. I scanned the edges, spotting Voss's silhouette, Thorne's fixer, his hands busy with a device. Then it hit. Tommy's virus surged, screens flickering, Neuralink's demo stuttering like a dying heart. Screams erupted. Investors recoiling as chaos bloomed. I sprinted to the control room, my boots a drumbeat, shoving past guards. My ranger instincts, born in Montana's wild, roared, act, don't think. I ripped cables, flipped switches, my hands steady despite the panic clawing my chest. Thorne's men moved in the crowd, their steps a predator's dance, aiming for Evelyn. I signaled security, my voice low, directing them to block exits. A thug reached for Evelyn. I tackled him, my shoulders slamming him to the floor, his knife skittering free. The crowd gasped, unaware of the war unfolding in their midst. I fought through bodies, disabling Thorne's devices with a scavenged EMP pulse, their lights winking out. Evelyn rallied, her words a fire against the turmoil, urging calm. My traps held dummy servers absorbed the hack, but Tommy's virus lingered, a venom in the system. Chloe was backstage, her eyes wide but safe. My every move for her. The gala teetered, a ship in a gale, and I was its anchor, a man of dirt and bone against a city's deceit. Tommy's shadow loomed, his plan unraveling but not broken. I stood, breath ragged, knowing this was no end, just a battle in a war I'd sworn to win, for my daughter, for Evelyn's hope, for the man I'd forged in fire. The gala's chaos was a living beast. Screens glitching, voices rising like a tide. I stood in the control room, sweat stinging my eyes, the city's pulse a hammer in my skull. Thorn's virus gnawed at Neuralink's core. But I held the truth, a shard of proof I'd clawed from his web. I patched into the auditorium screens, my hand shaking, and projected Thorn's files, hacked logs, crashed schematics. His orders to kill Evelyn. The crowd stilled, their gasps a sharp wind as evidence bummed bright Thorn's greed, his plot to weaponize Neuralink, laid bare. Evelyn stepped forward, her voice iron, backing my move, her words a torch in the dark. "This is our fight," she said, naming Thorn, her courage a mirror to Laura's fire. I watched the room, a ranger reading tracks, seeing doubt crack in investors' eyes. Tommy's men froze, their plan exposed, their master's mask torn. I broadcast Voss's confession, his voice trembling, admitting the Montana crash was murder, not chance. The crowd roared, some in rage, others in fear, as truth cut deep. I stood, heart aforge, knowing this was my stand not just for Evelyn, but for Chloe, for the world Laura dreamed of. Tommy fled, his silhouette a ghost in the chaos, but his empire bled. I'd turned his shadows to light, my ranger's hunt yielding blood. Yet the system flickered, Tommy's virus still alive. A wound unclosed. I fought it, rerouting code, my fingers raw, buying time. The crowd turned to Evelyn, their questions a storm, but she stood tall, her vision unbroken. Chloe ran to me, her hug a lifeline, her trust my fuel. I'd expose Thorn, but at a cost his allies would strike back, their knives sharper now. The gala's lights burned. Seattle's skyline a cruel witness to my gamble. This wasn't victory, but a blow landed, a truth bared in a world of lies. My stand was for them, for the man I'd become. A father who'd fight where he once faltered, a ranger who'd hunt until the prey was down. The auditorium fell silent, a tomb after the storm. Thorn's truth still searing on every screen. Investors, once cold, shifted, their eyes no longer sharp with doubt but heavy with shame. I stood at the stage's edge, a ranger in a city's glare, my hands scarred but steady. Evelyn spoke. Her voice a clear bell, reclaiming Neuralink's promise, her strength a beacon. The crowd's prejudice against her, a woman daring to reshape minds. Against me, a nobody from dirt cracked like thin ice. Men who'd sneered now nodded, some offering quiet apologies, their wallets opening to save Omnitech. My actions, a ranger's raw strike, had shifted their gaze. I was no longer just a shadow, but a force, a man who'd bared truth where they saw only chaos. Chloe watched, her pride a warmth in my chest, her future brighter for it. Yet whispers lingered, some calling me reckless. A vigilante who'd risked too much. I felt their weight, my stand a blade that cut both ways. If you've ever made a room see you anew, force their eyes to truth, share it below what was your moment, drop a comment. I read every one. Intersperse. That silence rewrote me, a nobody who shook their world. Have you stood where scorn tummed to awe? Tell your story below. Let's count the gala's echo faded, Seattle's lights a cruel mirror in the night. I stood alone in my hotel room, a ranger unmoored, the weight of my stand against Thorn crushing my chest. Had I risked Chloe for nothing? Her face, bright but fragile, haunted me, her safety a vow I might have broken. Thorn's files burned on every screen, his truth exposed, but the victory tasted like ash. What if I'd pushed too far, turned us into targets for his wrath? My hands, scarred from Montana's wild, trembled not from cold, but from doubt's claw. I'd acted, fought, bled for Evelyn's dream. But the cost gnawed, Chloe's fear, my soul's fray. Laura's loss was a ghost in my bones, whispering I'd failed her, and now I might fail my daughter. The city's hum mocked me. Its pulse a reminder of my place, a man of dirt, not circuits, a nobody who dared too much. Omnitech's triumph was hers, not mine, and yet I bore the scars. Some called me hero, others fool. Their voices a chorus splitting my mind. Had I saved Neuralink, or doomed us all? The mirror showed a man I barely knew, his eyes hollow, his fight a gamble with stakes too high. I sat, head in hands. The room's silence a judge. Chloe slept next door, her breath soft, but Thorn's shadow lingered, his allies waiting to strike. My ranger's instinct, once sharp, felt dulled, my path unclear. I'd torn Tommy's mask, but what if the truth wasn't enough? What if my stand was just pride, a father's desperate swing against a world too big? That was a blade, cutting deep. And I bled under its edge, unsure if I was savior or ruin. Laura's watch haunted my mind, its hands ticking now, a taunt from the grave. I paced the room, Seattle's skyline a cage. My fear a beast I couldn't slay. If I was wrong, I'd lose Chloe, my light, my reason. If I was right, why did I feel so hollow, a man fighting alone? Laura's death was my scar, a failure I carried. And the thought of failing Chloe was a chokehold. Thorn's threat wasn't just knives, it was my own heart, whispering I wasn't enough. I saw Chloe's face, her trust a weight I might betray. And my knees buckled. The city's pulse was a drum, each beat a question. Could I protect her, or was I doomed to repeat my past? I stood, breath ragged, facing the mirror, my eyes a stranger's. Fear wasn't new ID, faced it in blizzards, in blood, but this was deeper, a terror of losing what I loved most. Have you fought the world and felt empty, alone against its tide? Drop a comment, share your fear. I need to know. Intersperse. That loneliness, was it failure or the fight's cost? Tell me your story below. Let's count the souls who've faced their dark. I gripped the watch, its cold metal a tether, and saw Laura's smile, Chloe's now. I couldn't run, couldn't hide. My fear was real, but so was my love, a fire no shadow could douse. I'd face it, not for glory, but for them, for the man I still could be. I looked to Chloe, sleeping, her face soft under Seattle's dim glow. My doubt was a storm, but she was my anchor. Her trust a spark that burned through fear. I wouldn't break, not for Thorn, not for my own ghosts. Evelyn's fight, Chloe's future, they were my blood, my bone, my unyielding will. I'd failed Laura. But that scar was my forge, not my end. I was a ranger, a father, a man who'd learned to stand when the world knelt. My stand wasn't about glory, it was about them. About holding fast where I'd once faltered. Thorn's shadow could hunt, but I'd hunt harder. My resolve a blade no fear could blunt. I stood, the city's hum a challenge I'd meet, my heart steady. The gallows truth was a spark, but the fire was mine, to protect, to build. I'd face Thorn's wrath, his men, my own heart, for Chloe's smile, for Evelyn's hope. My path was clear, not easy. But true a man's road through blood and bone to something worth. I gripped the watch, its silence no longer a taunt, but a vow. I'd fight, and I'd win, for them. The world's judgment came. Harsh and swift, and I'd meet it head on. Seattle woke to my name, a spark in the city's maw, the gallows truth now a wildfire. News screamed, Ranger unmasked tycoon, Neuralink saved. Some hailed me. Their tweets a chorus of praise, calling me guardian, a man who carved light from shadow. Others spat venom, branding me vigilante, a reckless fool who'd torn the city's seams. Social media split. A jagged rift, hero or wrecker, savior or chaos. I stood in our hotel, Chloe's hand in mine, her eyes wide as screens flashed my face. Evelyn's tech soared, her name cleansed. But I was the lightning rod, drawing fire. The crowd's roar was a beast, its teeth bared in both worship and scum. My ranger's heart, bred in Montana's silence, reeled under the noise. Had I broken Thorn's web or woven a worse one? Some said I'd saved lives, others claimed I'd shattered trust, risking all for pride. Hero or villain, you decide. Would you speak truth and face the storm, or stay silent? Drop a comment. I need your stand. Intersperse. They judged me, some with awe, others with hate. Have you faced a world split by your truth? Share your fight below. I read every word. The backlash stung, my doubt a shadow, but Chloe's trust was my ground. I'd acted for her, for Evelyn, yet the world's gaze was a weight. Its verdict unclear. Seattle's pulse mocked my dirt-born roots, its clamor a challenge I couldn't outrun, a father's fight now judged by strangers' tongues. Thorn's allies struck back, their wrath a tide breaking over us. Lies flooded online claims I'd faked Thorn's files, that I was a drifter with a grudge, a liar who'd framed a titan. Anonymous threats hit my phone. Their words sharp, back off, or Chloe pays. I found a note nailed to our cabin's door in Montana, my old life now a target, its wood scarred with a warning. Seattle's streets felt alive, each shadow a blade, each stranger a threat. I kept Chloe close, her laughter dimmed, her eyes searching mine for safety I couldn't promise. My ranger instincts, once my shield, strained under the city's weight, its dangers faceless, digital, cruel. A thug trailed us to Omnitech, his steps deliberate. I lost him in a crowd, my heart a drum, but the hunt was on. Evelyn faced her own storm lawsuits from Thorn's cronies. whispers of her ruin. I patrolled her office, my hands itching for a fight. But this war was shadow, not steel. The backlash grew. A beast fed by Thorn's gold, his allies weaving a net to choke us. I checked servers, found new hacks, subtle but deep, aimed at Neuralink's heart. My stand at the gala had wounded Thorn, but not killed him, and his venom spread. I stood watch at night, the city's glow a false dawn, my fear for Chloe a chain. I'd torn a veil, but the truth had birthed a hydra, its head snapping. My fight was for them, but each step sank me deeper, a ranger lost in a maze of lies, my will the only light. The threats broke my resolve to stay rooted. Montana's dirt, my haven, was no longer safe. Tommy's reach had poisoned it. For Chloe's sake, I agreed to move to Seattle, the city's jaws closing around us. Evelyn offered a role, strategic operations at Omnitech, a title alien to my ranger's blood. I accepted, my voice tight, the cabin's memory a scar I carried. We packed light, Chloe's robot sketches tucked in her bag, her eyes bright but wary. Seattle's towers loomed, a world of glass and wire I barely grasped, my boots out of place on polished floors. I leaned systems, protocols, my hands clumsy with tech but sharp with intent. The role was a leash, tying me to a life I didn't choose, but Chloe's future demanded it. Her young innovators program, her chance to soar. My ranger life was gone, traded for a desk, a badge, a city's pulse. Yet the fight followed, Thorn's allies lurking, their threats a hum beneath the surface. I stood in Omnitech's halls, a man remade, my heart still tied to Laura's ghost. To Chloe's light. This new world was a crucible, forging me into something I didn't yet know, a protector, not just a hunter. I'd adapt for them, for the man I'd become under Seattle's unyielding sky. Allies rose, unexpected, shifting the tide in ways I couldn't foresee. Seattle's dusk was a bruise, the city a bared claw under a sky thick with menace. I stood in Omnitech's shadowed corridors, my ranger's heart a stranger in this steel maze. Tommy's threat hung heavy, his allies' whispers a blade in the dark, but I wasn't alone anymore. A woman stepped from the gloom. Lila, a hacker. Once Thorn's pawn, now a rebel with truth in her code. Her gaze, sharp yet haunted, locked with mine, her hands offering a chip, its data a lance to pierce Tommy's core. She'd seen my gala stand. She murmured, voice raw, and it shattered her ties to him. Guilt carved her, a wound I knew. Laura's loss, my failures as a father. Lila's chip held secrets, Thorn's bribes, his grip on power. Lives broken for Neuralink's throne. I took it, my ranger's instinct cautious, reading her like tracks in ash. She spoke of amends, her hacks now ours, a debt to justice she'd pay. I nodded. Trust a faint spark, but real, kindled in this city's choke. Lila's data was a path hidden accounts, puppet strings, Thorn's empire exposed. My blood stirred, not with hope, but with intent. A chance to strike deep. Chloe's safety, Evelyn's cause, they burned fiercer with this tool. I stashed Lila in a safe house, her skills a bow I'd draw. Seattle's pulse was a warning. Its shadows hiding Thorn's teeth, but I had a comrade now, her shame my leverage. This wasn't Montana's frost, but the hunt was mine stock. Strike, endure. Lila's betrayal of Tommy was a fissure in his fortress, and I'd split it wide, for my daughter, for the man I'd become under these unyielding stars. Night gripped Seattle, its towers a snare for my weary soul. In Omnitech's stillness, I sat with Evelyn and Chloe, their presence a bulwark against the city's bite. Evelyn's eyes, steady and warm, met mine, her trust a bond forged in fire. Chloe traced circuits, her pencil faint, her smile Laura's echo, tethering me to this fight. We'd faced Thorn's venom, his schemes, and now Lila's chip gave us claws. I spoke blunt, my ranger's voice coarse. We'd chased Thorn as one, no turning back. Evelyn's hand grazed mine, her nod a pledge, her resolve a flame I leaned into. Chloe pressed close, her faith a light no shadow could dim. Our tie wasn't blood, but tougher born in Montana's blaze, tempered in Seattle's lies. We plotted, my dirt-born mind merging with Evelyn's vision. Chloe's spark carving new trails. Lila's data bared Thorn's web, and we'd shred it, strand by strand. I saw Laura in their strength, my failure to save her now a goad, not a chain. Seattle's hum was a call, each beat a reminder to stand firm. Evelyn shared her doubts, Omnitech's frailty, her own limits, and I shared mine. Chloe's safety my sole beacon. Our walls fell. Trust a dawn in this dark. Chloe's laugh, rare and bright, bound us we were kin, not by birth, but by choice. This bond was my might, a ranger's oath reborn in their eyes, a father's love etched deep. I stood, heart solid, ready to fight beside them, for the man I'd become. Seattle's dawn was a knife, the city a forge for our defiance. Lila's network coders, leakers. Specters in the digital void flocked to us, their screens alight with Tommy's rot. I stood in Omnitech's core, a ranger among wires, watching truth surge like blood. Lila's chip, now theirs. Unmasked Thorne's sins offshore vaults, bought judges, lives crushed under his heel. They tore his fronts, flooding nets with leaks, their code a tempest breaking his gates. My ranger's soul, shaped in solitude, stood awed by this swarm, their fury a tide I'd never felt. Evelyn led, her voice a spark, while Chloe's scripts, swift and bold, wove into their flood. I guarded the room, my hands ready, Thorne's men still stalking. The network's leaks hit feeds, Thorne's name now venom, his empire fraying. I saw Chloe's pride, her spark ablaze in this war, and Evelyn's will. A mirror to my own. Our community was a fist, each hack a strike, each truth a wound to Tommy's reign. Seattle's pulse was a war drum, its shadows no match for our glare. I was no longer alone. My ranger's path now theirs, a father's fight shared by many. This power wasn't mine, but ours, a force to fell a giant. I stood, heart a furnace, ready to push harder for them. For the man I'd become. Drop a comment, have you found strength in unexpected allies? Share your story, I need to know. Our fight roared loud, and the world's ears turned, shaking all. Seattle's moaning broke harsh, the city a raw wound under a sky of steel. Lila's network had lit a fuse, and now the media swarmed, their lenses hungry for our fight. Headlines screamed. Ranger topples Titan, Neuralink saved from treachery. My name, David Miller, was a brand on every screen. My gala stand a legend spun in ink and bytes. Some outlets crowned me, their stories painting a hero carved from Montana's frost, a father who broke Thorne's empire for his daughter. Others sneered, calling me a rogue, a drifter who'd sparked chaos for fame. The split stung, their words a mirror to my doubt, but Chloe's hand in mine kept me grounded. Evelyn's face graced networks, her vision lauded, yet I was the story's heart. A ranger lost in their glare. Reporters camped at Omnitech, their questions a barrage, each flash a blade. I shunned them, my ranger's soul craving silence, but their noise was a tide I couldn't stem. Social feeds burned, some cheering, others cursing, my truth a spark in their war. Why do those who speak get torn apart? Drop a comment, what's your truth when the world judges? Intersperse. My story split the crowd, some praising, others damning. Why do victims face hate for daring to rise? Share your fight below, I need your voice. The media's gaze was a weight, Seattle's pulse a drum. Each beat a reminder of Thorne's lingering shadow. I stood, heart a stone, knowing this light could bum us, but also break him. Lila's leaks fueled the storm, Thorne's name now ash. His empire cracking. Chloe's pride, Evelyn's nod, they were my shield, my reason to face this blaze. The world's eyes turned, but justice's hand was closing fast. Seattle's noon was a blade. The city of forge where truth met reckoning. The media's storm had cracked Thorne's walls, and now justice stirred, cold and sure. Lila's leaks, my gala files, reached the law's hands. FBI raids hit Thorne's fronts, his accounts frozen, his allies named. He was arrested, cuffs biting his wrists, his face a mask of rage on every feed. I watched from Omnitech. My ranger's heart still, Chloe's hand tied in mine. The news called it a triumph. Titan falls, Neuralink safe, a father's fight won. Yet victory was ice, not fire. Tommy's empire crumbled. But his shadow lingered, his venom deep. Evelyn stood taller, her vision secure, but I felt the cost, my scars a map of this war. The law moved slow, a beast waking. But its teeth were real indictments piled, Thorne's lies unmasked. I gave statements, my voice rough, recounting the crash, the gala, Lila's chip. The feds nodded, their eyes hard, seeing not a ranger, but a man who'd broken a giant. Chloe's smile was my fuel, her future brighter, but I stood wary, knowing justice wasn't closure. Thorne's allies roamed, their threats a hum beneath the city's din. Seattle's skyline was a witness, its glare unyielding, my fight now theirs. I was no hero, just a father who'd fought and bled. My will a spark that lit this end. The law's grip tightened, but my heart stayed braced. ready for what lingered in the dark. Justice struck, but one last shadow rose to test me. Seattle's twilight was a veil, the city a crucible for my soul's weight. Thorne was caged, his empire dust, but hate could have chained me still. I stood in Omnitech's quiet, Chloe's drawings at my side, Laura's watch in my palm, its tick a pulse, not a taunt. I'd fought Thorne for Chloe, for Evelyn, but hatred was a trap, a scar I'd not carry. I chose to let it go, not for him, but for me, for the man I'd become. His crimes Montana's crash. Chloe's fear bummed in me, but I'd not let them rule. Forgiveness wasn't weakness, it was a blade, cutting my ties to his poison. I looked at Chloe, her eyes bright, and saw Laura's hope. Not his shadow, Evelyn's trust, Lila's stand, they showed me a path beyond rage. Seattle's hum was a hymn, each note a call to rise above. I'd fought with blood, not spite. My ranger's heart forged in loss, not venom. Thorne's fall was enough. Hate would only bind me to his ruin. I stood, heart clear, my will a light no grudge could dim. This choice was mine. A father's gift to his daughter, a ranger's vow to walk free. The city stars broke through, faint but true, my path now theirs. Peace came, but a final threat loomed. Sharp and unyielding, Seattle's dusk was a cold blade. The city a cracked bone under a sky of ash. Thorne was caged, his empire dust, but his venom lingered. I stood in Omnitech's shadow. My ranger's heart taut, Chloe's laughter a fragile thread in my chest. A message came, scrawled in blood-red ink, slipped under our door, Chloe's name, a time, a place, a warehouse by the docks. Thorne's loyalist, a ghost from his web, had risen, their claws aimed at my daughter. My blood turned to frost, the fear I'd buried since Laura's loss clawing back. I checked on Chloe. Her sketches spread across our new Seattle home, her eyes bright, unaware of the menace. I hid the note, my hands steady but soul shaking, knowing this was no bluff. The city's pulse was a warning. Its streets hiding eyes that watched us. I traced the threat source, my ranger skills sharp, finding whispers of a hired blade, a man named Rake, bound to Thorne's cause. He'd been at the gala. A shadow I'd missed, now hunting to avenge his master. I stood at our window, Seattle's lights a cruel mirror, my fear for Chloe a weight I couldn't shed. This wasn't Montana's wild, but the stakes were the same, her life, my vow. I armed myself, not with steel, but with will, my ranger's instinct to fire no threat could douse. Rake's challenge was a trap, but I'd walk into it. For Chloe, for the man I'd become. The docks loomed, their shadows a call to fight, my heart a drum against the dark. I kissed Chloe's forehead, promising safety, my voice a lie to shield her. The threat was real, a final test of my stand, and I'd face it alone, a father's love my only guide. The trap was set, and I'd meet it with blood and bone. Seattle's night was a shroud. The docks a maze of rust and gloom. I moved through the warehouse, my ranger's tread silent, heart a clenched fist. Rake waited, Thorne's last blade. His silhouette sharp against the warehouse's dim glow. Chloe's name and his threat burned in me, a fire no fear could quench. I saw him, lean and coiled, a knife glinting in his hand. His eyes cold with intent. He spoke, voice a rasp, taunting me for breaking Thorne, for daring to rise. I didn't answer, words were air. Action was truth. He lunged, blade arcing, and I met him. My hands bare but sure. My ranger's skill, honed in Montana's wild, guided me, twisting his wrist, the knife clattering to concrete. He struck again, fists hard, but I was harder. My shoulder driving him back, breath ragged but will iron. The warehouse echoed, our fight a dance of shadow and grit. I pinned him, my knee on his chest, his gasps a surrender he wouldn't voice. I took his blade, snapped it, my eyes locked on his, promising no blood if he yielded. He spat, but his fight was gone, his loyalty to Thorne a broken chain. I bound him with rope from the docks, leaving him for the law, my hands steady, soul unbowed. Chloe was safe, the threat broken, but the fight's weight lingered, a scar on my heart. Seattle's hum was a pulse. Its dark a witness to my stand. I'd faced the last of Thorne's wrath, a father's love my shield, a ranger's strength my sword. The warehouse stood silent, my breath the only sound, my resolve a light in the void. The fight was won, but peace came soft, like dawn's first breath. Seattle's dawn was a faint pulse, the city a hushed witness to my stand. Rake was gone, bound for justice. Thorn's final threat dust in my hands. I returned to Chloe, her sleep unbroken, her sketches a map of dreams I'd guarded. My ranger's heart, scarred by Laura's loss, beat steady. The fear of failure, now a shadow I'd outrun. No crowds cheered, no screens blazed. My victory was quiet, a father's vow kept in silence. I stood in our new home. Seattle's lights soft through the window, my hands still, soul at rest. Evelyn called, her voice warm, Neuralink safe, her trust a bond I'd earned. The law took rake, his confession sealing Thorn's fate, but I sought no glory. My triumph was Chloe's smile, her future free, my love a shield no blade could pierce. Seattle's hum was a hymn, each note a promise of peace I'd fought for. I held Laura's watch, its tick a rhythm, not a wound, my past now a strength, not a chain. The city's scars mirrored mine, but I'd built something here, a life, a family, a man remade. My stand was done, not with fanfare, but with truth, a ranger's path walked for those I loved. I looked to Chloe, her eyes my dawn, and knew I'd won, not for fame, but for her. The fight was over, my heart clear, my soul unbound under Seattle's unyielding sky. Victory settled, but healing waited, a road yet to walk. Seattle's dawn was a faint scar, the city a hushed wound under a sky of slate. Thorn's last blade was broken, but my heart still bled, scarred by Laura's loss and the war I'd fought. I stood in Omnitech's quiet, my ranger's soul heavy, Chloe's laughter a light I clung to. Evelyn found me there, her presence a steady flame, her eyes warm with a knowing I couldn't dodge. She'd seen my fight, Montana's blaze, the gallus fire, Rake's defeat, and now saw the cracks beneath. Her voice, soft but firm, cut through my silence, urging me to face the pain I'd buried. I resisted, my pride a wall, but her words were a tide, washing over my guilt. She spoke of her own wounds, Neuralink's weight, her brush with death, and how she'd learned to carry them, not be crushed. I saw Laura and her strength, a mirror to my failure, but Evelyn's hand on mine was a tether, pulling me from that dark. She walked me through Seattle's streets, the city's pulse a rhythm to her words, teaching me to see my scars as proof of love, not loss. Chloe joined us, her sketches in hand, her trust a balm I hadn't earned but needed. Evelyn's guidance was no sermon, but a ranger's map, clear, hard-won true. She showed me I wasn't broken, just bent, my fight for Chloe a testament, not a fault. We sat by the water, Seattle's waves a murmur, and I spoke of Laura, my voice raw. The guilt of failing her a stone I'd carried. Evelyn listened, her silence a gift, her nod a sign I could lay it down. My ranger's heart, bred in solitude, softened, her courage a light I leaned into. Chloe's hug sealed it, her warmth a promise I could heal. Evelyn's aid wasn't pity, but truth, a woman who'd faced death and chose to guide me through mine. The city's hum was a call, my soul stirring. Ready to mend, for Chloe, for the man I'd become under these unyielding stars. Her light showed the way, but forgiveness was a road I'd walk alone. Seattle's noon was a soft glow, the city a crucible for my soul's weight. Evelyn's words lingered, a spark in my dark, but guilt still chained me. Laura's death, my failures, the war with Thorn. I stood in our new home. Chloe's sketches a fragile dawn, my ranger's heart a battleground. I'd fought for my daughter, for Evelyn, but hadn't forgiven myself, the man who'd let Laura slip away. The mirror showed a face carved by loss, my eyes heavy with a debt I couldn't pay. I held Laura's watch, its tick a pulse, not a taunt, and saw my fault wasn't in failing, but in holding that failure is truth. I forgave myself, not with ease, but with will, a ranger's choice to cut a tie that bound me to pain. The act was a blade, sharp and clean, freeing me from the stone I'd carried. I turned to others, Evelyn, whose push to Seattle had stung, but saved us, Lila, whose betrayal of Thorn was her own mending. I released them, not for them, but for me, my heart a forge where anger burned to ash. Thorn's shadow lingered, his crimes a scar, but I let go of hate, seeing him as a man broken by greed, not my chain. Seattle's streets were a witness, their hum a hymn to this release. I walked with Chloe, her hand in mine, her smile a mirror to Laura's, and knew I'd fought for love, not fault. My ranger's soul, once solitary, opened, my scars a map of battles won, not lost. Evelyn's trust, Chloe's faith, they were my ground, a family I built from fire. The city's light was soft, its pulse a call to live free, unburdened by past weights. I stood, soul clearer, my will a light no guilt could dim, a father's gift to his daughter, a man's vow to walk unbound. This forgiveness was my strength, a ranger's path to peace for them, for the man I'd become. Forgiveness freed me, but a symbol would mark my healing's end. Seattle's dusk was a gentle veil. The city a quiet forge for my mended heart. I stood in our home, Chloe beside me, her robot sketches alive with dreams. Laura's watch lay in my hand, its face once frozen at 3:17. The hour she left, a wound I'd carried, a mark of my failure. Chloe, her fingers deft, had fixed it, her tools a whisper, her smile a spark. Its tick was now a song, not a scar. A rhythm of time moving forward, not stuck. This watch was my healing, a symbol of love that outlasted loss, a ranger's truth reborn. I held it, its weight light, my heart steady. The guilt of Laura's death now a memory, not a chain. Chloe's fix was her gift, a child's faith in her father, a bridge to the man I'd become. I saw Laura in her eyes, her hope alive in Chloe's spark. In Evelyn's trust, in the life we'd built from Seattle's ash. The watch's tick was a pulse, each beat a step past pain, a sign I'd fought and won, not against Thorn, but against my own dark. I walked the city's edge, the watch in my pocket, Seattle's hum a chorus, its stars faint but true. The docks, where I'd faced Rake, stood silent, their shadows no longer a threat. My ranger's soul, once solitary, was whole, my scars a map of love, not loss. I showed Chloe the watch, her laugh at dawn, and we spoke of Laura, her memory a light, not a wound. Evelyn joined us, her nod a seal. Our family forged in fire, now at peace. The watch was my anchor, a symbol that time could mend, that a father could rise for his daughter. Seattle's pulse was my own, its quiet a gift. My healing complete under its unyielding sky. Healing took root, but a new dawn waited to rise. Seattle's dawn was a soft pulse, the city a mended scar under a sky of quiet hope. The war with Thorn was ash, my healing complete, and now I stood in a life remade. Our home, a modest space in Seattle's heart, hummed with Chloe's laughter. Her robot sketches pinned to walls like stars. I, David Miller, once a ranger lost in frost, was now anchored, my role at Omnitech, strategic operations, a strange but fitting harness. The city's towers, once alien, were my ground, their pulse a rhythm I'd learned. Chloe thrived, her young innovators program a canvas for her dreams. Her code dancing where my dirt-born hands could only marvel. Evelyn, our kin by fire, led Neuralink X, her vision healing minds like Laura's might have been, her trust in me a bond unbroken. We were a family, not of blood, but of will, forged in Montana's blaze, tempered in Seattle's trials. I walked the streets, my boots steady, the docks where I'd fought Rake now a memory, not a wound. My ranger's soul, once solitary, was woven into this life, my scars a map of battles won. I worked beside Evelyn, my instincts shaping Omnitech's defenses, my voice heard where once I'd stood silent. Chloe's school was close, her smile my dawn, her future a vow I'd kept. Seattle's hum was a hymn, each note a sign of peace earned through blood. I held Laura's watch, its tick a companion, not a chain, my past a strength that fueled this present. The city's light was gentle, its pulse a call to live, not just survive. My work at Omnitech was steady, my hands learning text language, my heart learning homes. Evelyn's Neuralink mended lives, each success a nod to Laura's dream. I stood on our balcony, Chloe beside me, her hand in mine, the city skyline a promise we'd built. This life was no dream, but a truth, a ranger's path to stability, a father's gift to his daughter, a man's stand under Seattle's unyielding stars. Stability took root, but my fight would light others' paths. Seattle's noon was a clear flame, the city a forge for my soul's new fire. My stand against Thorn, my healing from Laura's loss, had carved a path others saw. I stood in Omnitech's halls, my ranger's heart now a beacon, and launched Laura's Fund, a charity to lift families crushed by medical debt, as we'd been. The fund was my vow, a way to turn pain into hope, Laura's name a light for those in shadow. I spoke at gatherings, my voice rough but true, telling of Montana's blaze, the gala's fire, the docks fight. Crowds listened, their eyes wide, some weeping, others nodding, my story a spark in their dark. Chloe stood beside me, her pride a warmth, her own words sharp. bright, urging others to rise. Evelyn backed us, her Neuralink funds fueling our cause, her trust a wind at my back. Seattle's pulse was a drum, each beat a call to ignite change. Families wrote, their letters a tide, thanking us for debts erased, for hope reborn. I visited them, my boots on their porches, my ranger's solitude gone, replaced by hands clasped, eyes met. My fight had been for Chloe, but it rippled, touching lives I'd never know. Social feeds carried our tale, Laura's fun to hashtag, my name a call to act. I saw myself in their stories' fathers. Mothers, broken but fighting, and knew my scars had purpose. The city's light was a mirror, its hum a song of lives remade. I stood at a rally, Chloe's robot in hand, her smile my strength, and spoke of love that outlasts loss. My words weren't polished, but they burned, a ranger's truth that moved hearts. Laura's fun grew, a fire I lit, my healing now theirs. I walked Seattle's streets, my heart full, my stand a legacy for those who'd rise. My spark spread, but a final image would seal our tale. Seattle's dusk was a gentle tide, the city a canvas for our journey's end. I stood with Chloe and Evelyn, the space needles glow a quiet star above. Chloe's robot, built with Evelyn's tools, danced on a table, its gears humming. A symbol of dreams made real. Its lights flickered, a pulse like Laura's watch, now ticking in my pocket. A relic of loss turned to hope. This robot was our triumph, a child's spark that lit my dark. A ranger's path from Montana's frost to Seattle's dawn. The city's hum was a chorus, its skyline a witness to our fight. Thorns fall, my healing, our family forged. I looked to Chloe, her eyes bright, and Evelyn, her nod a seal, their love my anchor. Courage isn't fearless, it's fighting for love through the dark, I said, my voice low, a truth carved in my bones. The robot spun. Its dance a hymn to Laura, to Chloe's future, to lives we'd touched. If you've risen from your deepest fall, share your story below. Your fight could light another's way. Support this channel, and I'll keep sharing. Thank you for walking this road with me. Intersperse, your tale matters. Drop a comment, what's your rise? Let's lift each other up and stay tuned for more. I read every word. Grateful for you all. Seattle stars broke through, faint but fierce, their light our own. I held Chloe's hand, Evelyn's beside us, the robots hum a heartbeat. My ranger's soul, once solitary, was full, my scars a map of love, not pain. The city stood silent, its pulse our own, a testament to a father's fight, a family's bond, a man remade. This was no end, but a dawn. A life built from fire, a legacy for those who'd follow. Our story closed, but its echo would carry on, eternal.